She's not just cheating on me, she's trying to rob me blind while she does it. That was the sentence I said out loud, for the first time, to another human being. It didn't feel real until then. It just echoed in my own head for weeks, like a siren I kept trying to ignore. But the moment I said it, calm, clear, no theatrics, I saw my father's face change. Not surprised. Just sharpened. He didn't ask if I was sure. He didn't say maybe I was overthinking it. He just leaned back in that worn leather chair in his study and said, "Okay, tell me everything. From the beginning." So I did. I guess I should back up. I'm Nathan Mercer. Civil engineer. Husband. Father. Quiet guy. Generally unremarkable. I build things, roads, bridges, retaining walls. I like structures. I like when things hold. But nothing in my life had been holding lately. My wife Laura and I had been together 11 years. Married for 9. We had a daughter, Ellie, who was 8, thoughtful, gentle, always watching more than speaking. Our house in Charleston sat beneath a fan of moss-draped oaks. It was the kind of place people take photos of when they visit, all porch swing charm and southern paint colors. From the outside, we looked like the picture of stability. But the inside was crumbling. It started slowly. Not with a fight, not with some big betrayal. Just silence. Laura stopped asking how my day was. She started taking her phone everywhere, even into the shower. She got cagey with plans, vague with details. At first, I told myself she was just tired. Overworked. We all go through stretches like that. But then came the late nights. The weekend networking trips. The new gym across town. The lingerie I found a receipt for, but never actually saw. She stopped touching me like I was hers. I'd lie awake in our bed, listening to her breathe beside me, and feel like I was sleeping next to a stranger who still knew my passwords. And then there was Ellie. She felt it, even if she didn't understand it. Kids always do. One night, she curled up on the couch beside me while Laura was out with clients and whispered, "Is Mommy mad at us?" Us. Not you. Us. That broke something in me. The final piece slid into place when I caught a glimpse of a text on her iPad. Just a single message from a contact saved only as K. Same hotel next Saturday? Nothing more. But it was enough. Enough to kill the doubt. Enough to quiet the voice in my head trying to explain everything away. That's when I called my father. He was the last person I wanted to talk to about this. But also the first. James Mercer. 70. Semi-retired partner at one of the top law firms in South Carolina. Known for being cold in the courtroom and colder in settlement negotiations. He loved his scotch. He loved his books. And he loved me in the way men like him know how to love, which is to say, through action, not words. We weren't close in a sentimental sense, but we understood each other. I'd grown up learning how to stay composed under pressure, how to weigh my words, how to sit through silence until someone else blinked first. I'd learned that from watching him. So when I knocked on his door at 9 p.m. and said, "I need to talk," he didn't ask why. He just opened the door and led me to the study. The fire was already burning. The room smelled like tobacco leaves and old paper. I stood there for a second, unsure how to start. Then I said it. "She's not just cheating on me. She's planning to leave. And I think she's trying to take half of everything on her way out." My father didn't blink. He leaned back, steepled his fingers under his chin, and gave a single nod. "How much do you have in your name?" "About $750 in liquid. The rest is property. The house, the lake place, some shares in the firm where I consult." "Does she know about the lake house being almost paid off?" She picked the tile. He exhaled through his nose. "And Ellie, I'll fight for her. Whatever it takes." "Good," he said. "Then here's what we're going to do." We spent the next hour putting together a quiet, careful strategy. No dramatics. No confrontations. Not yet. He laid it out like a chessboard. "Step 1, he said. We secure the assets. Anything that can be moved or protected without triggering red flags, we do now. You set up a holding LLC. Transfer the lake house title. Reroute your consulting payouts into a separate account under that entity. Legally. Transparently. But quietly." I nodded, taking notes. "Step 2, he continued. We document. You don't accuse her. You don't raise your voice. You observe. You log. Every overnight trip. Every inconsistency. Every purchase. We'll get a private investigator if we need to, but I want a record in your hands first. You understand?" "Yes." Step 3, custody. She's working full-time, correct? "Yeah." Social media campaigns. Client calls. Constant travel. You've been doing school pickup, bedtimes, meals? All of it. Good, he said again. You're the stable parent. That matters. He sat back and looked at me. This is going to get worse before it gets better. You need to stay composed. For Ellie. And for Court. That last word hit hard. Court. It was no longer a question of if. I drove home through quiet Charleston streets, my mind spinning faster than the tires. Laura was already in bed when I got in. Her back to me. Phone glowing dimly in her hand. Long day? She asked absently. Yeah, I said. She didn't look up. I showered in silence, dried off, and peeked in on Ellie. She was curled up under her unicorn sheets, thumb near her mouth, hair spread across the pillow like spun gold. I sat beside her and brushed a strand from her cheek. She stirred. Daddy? Just me, Buck. Are we okay? She asked, eyes barely open. I swallowed the lump in my throat. We're gonna be just fine, I said. I played the long game after that. I let Laura think she was ahead. I didn't ask about her trips. I smiled at dinner. I even offered to take Ellie for the weekend when she said she had to go out of town again. All the while, I moved pieces. The trust was set up. The titles revised. The finances rerouted. My father put me in touch with a PI named Hendricks, a wiry guy with a military jaw and no small talk. Within 2 weeks, I had photos, hotel receipts, phone records, GPS tags. Her lover's name was Kevin Moreland. Regional sales manager. Single. Smug-looking. The kind of guy who takes mirror selfies in gym bathrooms. Laura had been seeing him for months. Since the fall. Right around the time she started encouraging me to spend more time at the lake house to clear my head. Ironic. She thought she was grooming her exit. Preparing for a clean split where she walked away with half the property, maybe primary custody, and probably a new condo she'd buy with my money. But she made one mistake. She assumed I wouldn't fight. She forgot who raised me. The first time Laura mentioned the word space, it wasn't framed as an argument. She floated it out there casually, like she was suggesting we repaint the living room. I just feel like maybe we could try spending a little time apart. Not permanent, just to breathe a little. She was pouring wine when she said it. Didn't even look up. I remember wiping the counter, nodding slowly, like it was the first time I'd ever considered such a thing. Just to breathe, I repeated. She smiled. Relieved. She thought I was pliable. Still in that fogged-up state of a husband too afraid to face what was obvious. But I wasn't afraid. I was prepared. It had been 3 weeks since I sat in my father's study and told him the truth. Laura wasn't just cheating, she was strategizing. Prepping for a clean break and a big payout. Now we were in full implementation mode. The lake house, which she adored, titled under a holding company, transferred and recorded. The LLC had been dormant for years, originally created for my freelance work. Reactivated, updated, and renamed. My father's firm had made sure the paperwork was bulletproof. My consulting income no longer went to our joint account. Every payment from my side clients, which Laura barely understood anyway, was redirected to the business account tied to the LLC. All of it legal. All of it clean. She hadn't noticed. That's what surprised me most. How little attention she paid. For someone so good at hiding secrets, she was oblivious to mine. Meanwhile, Ellie had started to draw quieter. Nothing dramatic. No tantrums. Just small shifts. She took longer to fall asleep. She asked more questions that felt like they weren't just for answers, but for reassurance. Is Mommy mad at you? She asked one night, her voice a whisper from her pillow. No, I said. Why would she be? She talks fast when she's mad. She's been talking fast a lot lately. She's just busy, I said. But everything's okay. That was only partly true. Laura had been gone 3 nights in the past 2 weeks. Client meetings. Late dinners. Brand partner meetups. Each excuse thinner than the last. The truth was, she wasn't being careful anymore. She didn't think she needed to be. She was already emotionally moved out, just waiting for the legal window to open. What she didn't know was that I was already inside it. My father was methodical. He'd retired from active practice, but he still had enough sway to get things done fast, quietly, and thoroughly. He assigned one of his junior partners, a smart, quiet guy named Devin, to begin assembling what he called a soft package. A curated portfolio of information to prepare for the moment Laura filed. The PI's evidence, hotel logs, photos, timestamps, was carefully documented but not yet deployed. No need to show our hand early. Instead, we began tightening the threads that would matter most in court. Custody. You've been the primary caregiver for over a year, Devin told me. You do pick up and drop off. Parent-teacher meetings. Medical appointments. She's missed 2 school events in the last 2 months, right? 3, I corrected. Ellie's piano recital, the reading fair, and last week's science day. He nodded. That paints a picture. A clean one. We gathered documentation, calendar entries, emails to teachers, screenshots of her cancellations. Judges don't care about cheating, Devin added. They care about parenting and stability. You're winning that argument every week you don't blow up. And I wasn't going to blow up. I learned a long time ago, power doesn't yell. It waits. Laura's tone began to shift. It started with little tests, subtle digs, and vague criticisms. You've been distracted lately. Is everything okay? We've both changed a lot. Maybe too much. Have you ever thought about what life would look like if we started fresh? Separately. Every time, I gave her nothing. A shrug. A noncommittal smile. A soft, maybe. She didn't know it, but she was negotiating with a man who'd already won. And she was bargaining with chips she no longer held. One Saturday morning, I caught her in the garage standing beside a few boxes she'd clearly just taped shut. What are those? I asked. She jumped slightly, then smiled. Oh, nothing serious. Just some things I might take to my mom's place for a bit. In case we do that space thing we talked about. In case. She nodded, eyes on mine. I'm not saying I'm leaving. I just think we both need room to think. I looked at the boxes again. Half her wardrobe was already inside them. The blender she loved. Her side table books. Even her wedding photo album. This wasn't space. It was stage one. And she thought I hadn't caught on. That night, while she packed a small overnight bag, she mentioned the lake house. I was thinking, she said casually, if we do separate for a while, maybe I could go up to the lake for a week. Just clear my head. No pressure. Just breathing room. I looked at her calmly. I don't think that's a good idea. Her head tilted slightly. Why not? It's under the business now. Can't be used for personal stays right now. Insurance purposes. She paused. What business? I smiled just slightly. MC Infrastructure Partners. I'm doing more freelance now. She blinked. Since when? Since a few months ago, I said. Didn't I mention it? She nodded slowly, but I could see it in her eyes, the first flicker of suspicion. The realization that maybe I wasn't as asleep at the wheel as she thought. It passed quickly. She shrugged it off, but her body language changed. I knew then, she was going to file soon. And she knew something had shifted. She just didn't know what. Ellie asked another question the next night while brushing her teeth. If Mommy lives at Grandma's, do I go too? My stomach twisted. Who said she's living at Grandma's? She was on the phone. I heard her say she'd be there a lot. I dried my hands and crouched down to her level. No matter what happens, I said, you're not going anywhere without me. That's a promise. She nodded, pressed her face against my shoulder. I like when it's just you and me, she whispered. My father called the next day. You're ready, he said. Legally, financially, parentally. If she files tomorrow, we're positioned. And if she doesn't? She will, he said. She just needs to feel safe enough to swing. The second she thinks she's in control, she'll try to cash out. I looked out the window at the backyard. Ellie's bike lay in the grass. A bird feeder hung crooked from the trees she used to climb before the divorce talk started floating in the air. She's going to swing, I said quietly. And when she does, I want it to land on nothing. The divorce papers came on a Monday. Hand-delivered. Thin envelope. No note. I was making mac and cheese for Ellie when the doorbell rang. She was singing quietly to herself at the table, coloring a drawing of a horse with wings. She'd named it Storefire. Said it could fly away from anything bad. I opened the door and signed the delivery slip. The server didn't make eye contact. They never do. Just handed me the envelope and left. I waited until Ellie was asleep before I opened it. It wasn't surprising. Not really. The filing was dressed up in neutral language, irreconcilable differences, equitable division of assets, shared parenting plan. But beneath all the polite phrasing was the story Laura thought she could control. She wanted half the value of the main house, the lake house outright, as her personal retreat, joint legal custody of Ellie, but primary physical custody, child support, alimony, temporary, but sizable. The kicker? She claimed she had stepped back from her career to support me and raise Ellie. That part almost made me laugh out loud. She'd been gone more weekends than not this year. Ellie asked me where she was more times than I could count. I was the one packing lunches, attending parent-teacher conferences, helping with volcano projects and piano recitals. But Laura thought if she said it on paper, it might become true. I didn't respond right away. That was the part she didn't understand. She was expecting a reaction. Rage. Desperation. A sudden rush to negotiation. Instead, I gave her silence. The next morning, I made pancakes. Took Ellie to school. Responded to emails. Reviewed site plans. On the surface, nothing changed. But quietly, my attorney filed our answer, with every defense, every financial record, every time-stamped log and affidavit already prepped. My father's legal team was surgical in how they structured it. We weren't just responding. We were counterattacking. Laura's lawyer, a sleek family law specialist named Shauna Myers, called Devin the next day. Tried to bluff. She's hoping to resolve this amicably, she said. But she's not going to walk away with nothing. Devin said only one thing in response. She's already walked away. She just didn't realize the door locked behind her. Laura brought it up that evening, as if she were easing into casual dinner conversation. So, she said, gently, I'm guessing you got the papers. I nodded. I did. I'm not trying to make this messy, she said, twirling her fork. I just think it's time we both moved on. I agree. That caught her off guard. She blinked. You do? Yes, I said. We've been done for a while. I just didn't want Ellie to get caught in it. She paused. She won't be. I'm going to make this easy for her. I raised an eyebrow. By asking for primary custody? I'm her mother, Nathan. That's not me taking her away. I leaned back in my chair. And you think the court will see it that way? Laura's smile twitched, the first tiny fracture in her confidence. 2 days later, I sent over our full discovery packet. We included phone records, location data, and time-stamped images from 5 separate hotel stays with Kevin Moreland. A signed letter from the private investigator outlining the methodology and legal collection of evidence. A full documentation log of parental duties over the last 6 months, including absences from events, overnight trips, and school correspondence Laura had missed. A sworn affidavit from Ellie's second-grade teacher detailing who picked her up, attended meetings, and responded to school communications. We also submitted financial disclosures showing that the lake house was purchased and titled solely in my name through an LLC, established before any separation. All business income was rerouted through the LLC months prior for active consulting work that Laura had no stake in. All marital funds had been accounted for, but assets Laura assumed ours were, in fact, fully protected and independently sourced. When Laura received the packet, she didn't come home that night. She stayed at her mother's place instead. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just sat on the back porch, sipping iced tea, listening to the cicadas, and letting the quiet sink in. The power in silence is underrated. Ellie crawled into bed with me that night. I was still awake, staring at the ceiling, not thinking, just breathing. Where's Mommy? She asked. She's staying with Grandma tonight. Why? She needed time to think. Ellie was quiet for a long time. Then she said, she doesn't want to live here anymore. Does she? I turned to her, surprised. Why would you say that? She keeps taking things. Little things. Her pink mug. The soft blanket. Even her fuzzy socks. I pulled her closer. We're going to be okay. She nodded into my chest. Can Storefire live here with us forever? Storefire? I asked, smiling. My horse. I drew him. Of course, I whispered. Storefire stays. The next week, the negotiations began. Laura's team started backpedaling quickly. The claim on the lake house was dropped first, after Devin provided the LLC documentation and proof of the timeline. Then went the alimony demand, after her earnings showed she'd been making more than she'd declared, thanks to her influencer side deals and unreported brand contracts. Finally, we got to custody. They still wanted joint legal and primary physical. Said Laura would create a nurturing, flexible environment for Ellie. But the evidence was a brick wall. Photos of empty seats at recitals. Missed school calls. Travel logs overlapping with parent weekends. What buried it was Ellie's pediatrician report, listing me as the primary contact, the only person who'd shown up to her appointments in the last 10 months. Devin summarized it best in one of our meetings. She can love her child. But she hasn't been parenting her. And the judge is going to see that. A mediation hearing was scheduled. I didn't sleep much the night before. Not out of fear. Out of finality. This wasn't just a legal process. This was the death certificate for something I'd spent a decade building. A life, flawed as it was. A home, fractured as it had become. And still, when I walked into that room, I wasn't bitter. I was calm. Laura looked tired. Beautiful, as always, but dimmed. She wore a navy blouse I remembered buying for her 2 birthdays ago. Her hands trembled slightly when she poured water into a paper cup. When the mediator asked if we wanted to speak privately before beginning, I nodded. We stepped into a side room. No lawyers. No performance. Just the 2 of us. I never wanted this to get ugly, she said quietly. You assumed I'd let you have your version, I said. That's not the same thing. I didn't know you'd fight. You didn't know me anymore, I said. That's why we're here. She nodded. Look down. I still want to be part of Ellie's life, she said. I know I messed up. I want her to have 2 parents, I said. But not 2 homes built on lies. By the end of mediation, the custody agreement was restructured. Joint legal, shared holidays, but primary physical custody awarded to me. Laura would have alternate weekends, scheduled weekday visits, and summer blocks. Supervised transition periods until further notice. As for the rest, I kept the lake house. The main house remained mine, since she chose to vacate first. No alimony. No financial leverage. She walked away with her car, her clothes, and her personal savings. Everything else? Already spoken for. You'd think that once the papers are signed, everything goes quiet. But some storms don't hit during the thunder. They roll in after, in the silence that follows. Laura moved out 3 weeks after mediation. She didn't go far, just a small condo across the river, walking distance from her mother's house. It had the look of a place meant for transitions, white walls, staged furniture, no photos on the shelves. Ellie went there for her first scheduled overnight on a Friday. I packed her bag myself. Toothbrush. Pajamas. Her favorite stuffed horse. I tried to stay calm, upbeat, but I could see the questions on her face, the quiet ones kids don't always know how to ask. Daddy, she said before she left. Is it weird if I miss you when I'm there? Not weird at all, I told her. It just means your heart's really big. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That night, the house was too quiet. I didn't turn on the TV. Just sat on the back porch with a beer, watching the porch light flicker across the yard. Around 9:30 p.m., I got a text. From Laura. Ellie's asleep. She asked to call you, but I told her it was too late. Hope that's okay. I stared at it for a moment. There was no photo. No follow-up. Just that one flat sentence. I didn't reply. She wanted to test the current, see if there was anything still alive beneath the surface. There wasn't. What Laura hadn't realized, what people like her rarely do, was that a clean legal escape doesn't guarantee a clean emotional one. The man she left me for, Kevin, had played his part well during the affair. But he was never built for permanence. He liked her in secret. In bursts. In bed. Not in real life. By the end of the first month post-divorce, I'd already heard whispers through mutual friends that Kevin was slowing things down. Not showing up to social events. Not returning texts. Then came the bombshell. He was dating someone new. Publicly. Not even trying to hide it. Laura, the woman who thought she'd landed cleanly on the other side of all this, was already being benched by the man she burned her life down for. I didn't gloat. I didn't say a word. But word got around. You can't fake stability for long, especially not in a city like Charleston, where everyone runs into everyone eventually. At first, the whispers were polite. Is Laura doing okay? Heard the new guy disappeared? She seemed so confident about everything. Then they started to curdle. One of the moms from Ellie's school bumped into me at a bookstore. You've been amazing through all this, she said. Laura always said it was mutual, but I guess that wasn't exactly true, huh? I just smiled and changed the subject. But the truth was leaking. And Laura, who had built her entire post-divorce narrative on control and reinvention, couldn't plug the holes fast enough. It got worse when Ellie started telling stories. Innocent ones. Casual. But revealing. Mommy cried in the bathroom for a long time. Kevin doesn't come over anymore. I think she misses him. She said you tricked her. That you're smarter than she thought. That last one stayed with me. Not because it was insulting, but because it was true. I had outsmarted her. Not cruelly. Not with vengeance. Just with clarity. She thought she was playing a game. I was securing a future. One night, weeks later, Laura called me. Not text. Not email. A real call. It was nearly 11 p.m. Ellie was already asleep. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to. Hello, I said. She was quiet for a second. Then, I miss her. It wasn't the voice she used in court. It wasn't the voice she used at dinner. It was soft. Raw. She misses you too, I said carefully. I didn't think it would feel like this, she said. Like what? Like I made a mistake, and it's still going. There was no bitterness in her voice. No accusations. Just a hollow kind of honesty, the kind that only shows up when the noise dies down. I thought I'd feel free, she said. But I just feel erased. I didn't know what to say to that. Maybe I didn't need to. She finally said, "Good night," and hung up. 3 days later, Ellie came home from her weekend visit with a handmade card, all stickers and scribbles. On the front it said, "To Daddy, the best house ever." I opened it. Inside was a simple drawing. Me, Ellie, and Store Fire the Winged Horse. Underneath she'd written, in huge block letters, "I like home more." That night, while she slept upstairs, I sat in the living room and looked around. At the couch Laura used to sit on. The pictures we'd taken. The walls we'd painted together. And I realized something. This wasn't her home anymore. It wasn't our home. It was mine and Ellie's. And it was peaceful. Laura still sees Ellie, of course. Alternate weekends. Some holidays. Supervised exchanges, per the court order. But she never tried to fight the arrangement again. Not after the custody evaluator conducted a follow-up interview and Ellie, entirely uncoached, said she felt safe and happy with me and confused with Mommy. Not after the first time Ellie refused to leave when Laura came to pick her up and cried in the doorway, clutching my hand. Not after the mediator sent Laura a final report summary that simply read, "Mr. Mercer provides the child with consistency, safety, and emotional availability. Ms. Mercer appears to be navigating a period of instability not conducive to a change in custody." People ask if I feel vindicated. That's not the word. I feel finished. And in that stillness, I found something better than revenge. I found peace. But there's still one more chapter. Because what happened next, the part no one saw coming, is what finally sealed Laura's fate. Charleston is a beautiful city, but it's small in all the ways that matter. People don't forget scandal here. They just let it ferment, like gossip aged in oak barrels. And eventually, the bottle opens. Laura used to thrive on image. Brunches, client mixers, rooftop charity events, always the curated version of our life, always smiling just enough to look effortless. But post-divorce? She started disappearing from that scene. One by one, the invites slowed down. Comments got shorter. Some people still smiled at her in public, but others didn't. Not because I said anything. I never spoke a word to anyone outside court. But people talk. And people watch. The tipping point came from the last place I expected, a mom from Ellie's school. Her name was Rachel. We weren't close, but our kids were in the same class. Her husband was a dentist. Solid, kind people. One morning, she caught me at drop-off. Light breeze, kids running inside with their backpacks flapping behind them. "Hey," she said gently, stepping closer. "I just wanted to say." I read what they filed. The court summary. "I'm sorry." I blinked. "You read it?" She looked embarrassed. "It was forwarded to me. I think someone in the PDA group shared it by accident. But then someone else definitely shared it on purpose." My stomach turned. Shared what exactly? The mediator's report. Custody findings. Timeline of events. It made its way around. Quietly. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. These things have a life of their own. By that afternoon, it was clear the story had changed. Laura, once the smiling, well-connected branding expert, was now being whispered about at school fundraisers and client luncheons. People started asking themselves and each other questions they hadn't before. Why did she really leave Nathan? Was Kevin just a phase? If she was such a hands-on mom, why didn't she get custody? She lost control of the narrative. And once it's gone, you don't get it back. She tried to rebuild. I could see it. She posted more online, carefully edited captions about new beginnings, resilience, and co-parenting with love. But engagement was down. Comments were cautious. The likes didn't pour in like they used to. Even her job took a hit. A boutique skincare brand she freelanced for let her contract lapse quietly. Rumor was they didn't want to be tied to any drama. I heard that from Devin, my lawyer's associate, who bumped into one of their reps at a business breakfast. She was radioactive, he said. Too much noise, not enough trust. Around this time, something unexpected happened. Ellie brought home a flyer from school, a local father-daughter camping weekend hosted by a nearby state park. She was beaming. "Can we go? Please." I'd never camped in my life. I hate mosquitoes. I sleep poorly on anything that isn't memory foam. But I said yes. We packed up our borrowed tent, loaded the car with snacks and firewood, and drove 2 hours into the pines. The weekend was simple, wholesome. Unremarkable in the best way. We fished, burned marshmallows, watched stars. On the second night, Ellie sat beside me by the fire and said, "I'm glad it's you." I looked over. "What do you mean?" "That I live with you. I feel safe here." I didn't say anything. I just reached over and squeezed her hand. Meanwhile, Laura's facade continued to slip. Kevin was gone. Officially, permanently, no soft landing. He'd ghosted her after a weekend trip in Asheville and never answered another message. She told a mutual friend that he wasn't emotionally ready for a blended family. But I'd seen the Instagram post he'd gone public with 2 weeks earlier, a smiling shot of him and a woman 10 years younger, captioned, "Better when it's real." That one had to sting. And then, quietly, something else shifted. I got a call from my attorney on a Tuesday morning. "Laura's lawyer just reached out," Devin said. "She wants to renegotiate the visitation schedule." "What?" I asked. "Why?" "She's stepping back. Temporarily. Says she's working through personal issues. Asking to reduce visits to once a month." That shocked me. "She requested less time with Ellie?" Devin sighed. She phrased it carefully, said she didn't want to disrupt the child's emotional consistency. But yes, she's backing off. For a woman who once fought for full custody, it was a quiet surrender. Not with banners and battles, but with the slow slide of someone realizing they'd lost more than they ever meant to. Ellie didn't ask where Laura was that weekend. Or the next. She still visited, now and then, but the bond had changed. There was no drama. No shouting. Just a slow rebalancing of gravity. The home base shifted, and she knew where her anchor was. With me. By late fall, I received an unexpected envelope in the mail. It was from Laura. Handwritten. No return address. Inside was a single-page note. "Nathan, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, and I'm not asking you to. But I needed to say something I never said before. Thank you. For being better than I was. For protecting Ellie. For not turning this into war when I deserved it. I thought I was chasing freedom, but I ran right past everything that mattered. You didn't just save her, you saved me from dragging her through my mess. Whatever happens next, I hope she grows up to be like you. Laura." I sat at the kitchen table, holding that letter, and felt absolutely nothing. Not hate. Not forgiveness. Just peace. It was over. For real this time.